Hello, my name is Josh Capelli, and this is my semester-long research project. So for my semester-long research project, I decided to do it on open source software. Open source software can be found in the Somerville textbook in chapter 10 and in the first section. And basically, open source software is when the copyright holder of certain software gives the licensing to anyone to use, distribute, or even modify the source code. So that's kind of why I had written up at the top, distributed software for anyone and any purpose. So starting off with my problem formulation, as I stated before, I decided to do my research on open source software and kind of analyze the success, quality, and overall public benefit that open source software gives to the public, mainly in the ways throughout the years that different softwares, different open source softwares have really changed the industry, and how its quality compares to the software of larger companies such as Apple and Microsoft. Furthermore, when looking kind of at the literature that I chose four peer-reviewed journals and articles, those being Why Open Source Software Can Succeed, Open Source Software and Evaluation, Achieving Quality in Open Source, and Open Source Software, A History. So these papers not only kind of discuss the evolution of open source software, but also touch upon how the quality compares again to kind of the leading companies that build these softwares, and also how open source has succeeded over the years. So I believe that open source software is really incredible as because you're able to kind of share and modify it with anybody and kind of mold it into what you want. Open source software, just a brief history, kind of started in the 1970s when source code became copyrightable. And really the first open source like project, the first large one is GNU. This was basically formed in response to the closed source Unix software, which had several bugs. In the 1990s, the actual word open source was first coined, and it kind of started exploding with the development of Linux in 1991, and also different coding software such as Python, Netscape, and even MySQL, which is even today extremely used by most people for databases. So in my critical analysis, as you can kind of see from the chart below, the cost to the consumer for software, whether that be application software, system software, implementation, consulting, operation management, whatever it may be, is extremely expensive and only continues to grow. Many people can no longer afford it. Furthermore, when there's bugs and issues, it's really difficult for the consumer to get past that. But with open source software, again, such as Linux, Ubuntu, or even MySQL, these open source softwares not only compete with the largest competition, but also give further value in the fact that that these bug fixes can be fixed by the community and it's built for the community. So then looking at the evaluation, um, softwares built by companies are good for several different reasons. Um, First of all, there's a development methodology, project documentation, formal structure for how tests will be run, black box testing, white box testing. There's all these different testing methods that make sure that there's a level of quality that comes with their products. But regardless, with open source software such as Python and Linux, we've seen time and time again extremely high quality software that comes out because of these communities. And then something I really found interesting is even from the beginning of kind of open source with GNU, open source has enriched every sector of technology, anywhere from operating systems to data science. You know, we see with TensorFlow is a huge library used by most data scientists to run different things like k-means, t-SNE, um, neural networks. Linux is one of the biggest operating systems alongside Windows and Apple. And we even see open source being used frequently by other large companies that are making software, such as Adobe and Facebook. Thank you so much. This has been my open source project, or my